I shall take the queries at the end. Okay. Let's start with the topic first, and at the end, I'll take the queries which you have sent me on the phone. Let me share my screen. All the previous lectures are getting uploaded on YouTube. I'll share the link on LinkedIn also, on our group also. So for previous two sessions, you can go through the recorded version. And once you enroll, you'll get access to all the recorded class of our existing batch. Okay. So let's start with our today's topic. Yesterday, I have completed till the definition of all the filing status. All the five different filing status we have completed. Now let's understand the definition of qualifying child and qualifying relative. This criteria is most important to remember because most of the topics are based on this criteria only. So if your base is clear, all the future topics which you are going to understand will be easy. Qualifying child will have four main criterias. First one is relationship test. Second is residency, age test, and support test. Okay, a qualifying child may enable a taxpayer to claim several tax benefit. Okay, so you will see in the credits chapter, you will see in some deductions, in some income exclusion, right? If you are expending some of your income, some of your earned income for your child or for a relative who is a qualified dependent, the person should fall under the definition of qualifying child or a qualifying relative. Then only you can claim the credits. Okay, some example are like for claiming HOH, head of household, you need to check whether you have a qualifying dependent or not. And the exemption for dependent, child tax credit, child and dependent care credit. So these are the all credits which we are going to understand in the credits chapter. So the standard definition applies to all five of the tax benefit noted above, with each benefit have some additional rule. So let's understand. First common benefit, a common criteria is relationship. The person whom you're claiming as a dependent child, okay, as the word suggests, child, there will be a age limit and there will be a relationship limit. The child should be related, okay, it should be child, stepchild, foster child, sibling can also work over here, step sibling, descendant of any of them. Oh, okay, what do you mean by sibling? Can anyone define me what is sibling? Any rough meaning of sibling?
Our brother, sister.
Cousin, brother, sister.
Yes, yes. Sibling is cousin, brother, sister. So here in relationship for identifying qualifying child, cousin, brother, and sisters are allowed only for taking the child as a dependent for the purpose of head of household, exemption for dependents. Okay, this we will understand when we do the next topics. Child tax credit, child and dependent care, and earned income. So these three credits, head of household, and for exemption for dependent. So this five criterias, you need to remember this definition. Do you remember the qualifying child definition yesterday when we did the qualifying surviving spouse topic? Here, the dependent child should not be your cousin. It should be the child, should be your own child. Okay, it should be your own child or any one of them, deceased partner or the spouse. Any one of them should be the biological parent of that child. Okay, so this definition keeps on changing based on what actually you are understanding. Head of household, here head of household also you can see qualifying person. In the definition of qualifying person, there is no sibling. Okay, for this, just a minute. Yeah, For qualifying child, there is a child, stepchild, legally adopted, foster, brother, sister is fine, but cousin, cousins are not allowed, siblings are not allowed, or a descendant of one of them. Brother, sister means your real brother, sister, okay? Not your descendant, not your cousin, brothers and sister, right? But those are not falling under the qualifying child definition. They will fall under the definition of qualifying relative for identifying the head of household status. Okay, clear, guys? Please prepare a small notes for yourself while studying, that which definition will have what criteria. Clear, everyone? I hope so. Here you can see that in case of this 5 things, you need to understand the definition of child. Head of household, just forget about this. Head of household, the whole definition is already defined over here. Just remember this definition for head of household. Head of household also, sibling will not fall under qualifying child, but sibling will fall under dependent relative. And in that case, grandparent, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, nephew, niece will fall under the definition. It will not have cousins, foster parents, unrelated dependents. Okay, these 3 are important to remember while understanding the HOH status. Okay, same thing is there over here. That's why it is mentioned HOH, but it's better understand the HOH definition from the above criteria. It's separately given. See, now a relationship is clear for everyone. It should be only child, stepchild, foster child, sibling, or step sibling can also work, or a descendant of any of them. Okay, it has to be blood or adopted relative. Second thing is adopted child and foster child. Everyone knows the difference between adopted and foster child. Anyone who knows the difference, can anyone tell me the definition of foster and adopted?
Yeah, foster child is forced by the government in case of any accident or anything wrong done by you. Adopted child is you adopted with your willingly, and that is forcefully.
Okay, correct. See, foster child is where any government agency who are going to allocate, like let's say there are many child who are homeless, so they are going to allocate a child to better income earners. Okay, they'll allocate the child to them. And adopted means you're willingly trying to adopt a child. It should be legally, the whole procedure goes on, all the paperwork will go on to legally adopt the child. Okay, so it's like taxpayer, child, stepchild is fine. Stepchild means either of the parent will be the biological parent. Foster child, okay, and sibling or step sibling or a descendant of one of this will fall under the definition of your qualifying child. Okay, so in case of age, here the age criteria is very important. The child should be under age 19. Under means he should exactly be 18 or less, not more than 18. You can remember like this, it should be 18 or less. Okay, and if even if a person, if the child is more than 18 years, if the age limit is up to 24, means 23 or less, plus a full-time student, sorry, half-time student, partially means for a 5 month also, if the person is a student, full-time student for at least 5 months, he should have the full attendance in the college, in the student, or be permanently and totally disabled. If he's permanently totally disabled, then you can consider, then you can ignore the age limit criteria. So relationship, age limit. Okay, age limit is clear, 18 or less, and here 23 or less. In credits chapter, we will see that there are so many age limits. In case of dependent care benefit, the age limit changes to 13 years or less. Okay, in case of child tax credit, it is changed to 17 years or less. So please please understand to remember this age limits are very important. Okay, in exam they will ask you exactly on the border. Let's say they'll ask you the child is of age 19 years, So he will not be qualified for the qualifying child definition. He can be shifted directly to qualifying relative definition. Okay, clear guys? Now next is support test. Support test is also important. Why? Because only age and release, all criteria should met. It should not be any one criteria. It should be all criteria should be met. That's why support test is where comes you are expending at least half of the expense of living expense along with the child. Okay, let's say you are living in the home, you are expending for yourself plus you are taking care of child, so he should not spending a single amount of expense for himself. Okay, there is a criteria that at least 50% you should be spending, whoever is going to claim this child as a qualifying child. So if a child is claimed as a qualifying child by 2 or more taxpayers in the given year, the child will be a qualifying child of the parent. If more than one taxpayer is the child's parent, the one with whom the child lived for the longest time during the year, or if the time was equal, the parent with the highest AGI. Okay, first thing is, let's say the uncle and aunt are also providing the more than 50% of support. All are living in a joint family in one house under one roof. Okay, now the taxpayer spouse are also expending for the child's expense. Okay, his living expense. Uncle and aunt are also spending for his living expense. They are also living under the same roof, right? Or let's say the taxpayer and spouse both are separated. Who is going to claim the child as a dependent, as a qualifying child? First, you need to check the relationship. Both will fulfill the relationship. Age criteria, child is already fulfilling the age criteria. Third, you will check the support test. Who is providing the maximum support to the child? Okay, is the taxpayer providing the more than 50% of his expenses, or spouse is providing? Okay, let's say both are providing equal support. Both are providing equal support, and the child will considered a qualifying child of any one of them, because if both are separated, he might be living with any one of them. Okay, so let's say he's living with the taxpayer for full year, so taxpayer is eligible to claim, not the spouse. But if he is living for 50% of the year, exact 50% with the taxpayer, exact 50% with the spouse, both are providing the 50% support, okay, to the child. Expenses are being incurred by both the taxpayer and spouse 50%. So who will be responsible to consider this child as a qualifying child will depend on only one criteria. They will check the AGI, how much the taxpayer is earning, how much the spouse is earning. One with the highest AGI will be allowed to claim a child as a dependent, right? Okay, if no taxpayer is child's parent, the taxpayer with the highest AGI will be considered, okay, for the purpose of claiming the qualifying child. This is the thing. Support test is very simple. Did not provide more than, the child should not provide more than 50% of his own support. Now, please remember there is a difference between two terminologies. One, child should not provide more than 50% of support. And second is taxpayer should provide more than 50% of support. Okay, see, when the word used child should not provide means he should not provide the expenses from his own pocket. That means it can be paid either by the taxpayer, either by any third party, okay, either by any other person. Any person can provide for the expenses. Wherever it is mentioned, child should not provide means he is not allowed to provide, but the parents can provide or any third party can provide the expenses. Wherever it is mentioned, taxpayer should provide more than 50% support. In qualifying surviving spouse status, the word taxpayer is used. In case of HOH status, the definition child should not provide word is used. And in case of general definition of our qualifying child also, child should not provide word is used. So when here the taxpayer should provide more than 50% support is mentioned, whole amount of expense will be taken out of the taxpayer's pocket only. No third party can provide the expense for the child. Did you get the difference between these two terminologies, guys? Any doubt, any question, anyone? Okay. Generally, if the questions are twisted in the exam, they play around these two terms. You should keep in mind where the child is not allowed and where the taxpayer is only responsible to provide the support for the child. Okay, clear, guys? All right. See, now let me check the QSS. Okay, where it is mentioned is a qualifying rate is a taxpayer who uses the joint return standard deduction and rate. Okay, following this. See, surviving spouse must pay. Here it is mentioned the spouse must pay half of the cost. Okay, so here it can't be said that any third person should pay on the behalf. But in head of household, you can see in case of definition of a child, there is like the child should not incur more than 50% of his own expenses. Okay, got it, guys? So please remember this thing that the definition are little bit different. I know while reading it you will find it same thing, but it has a very minute difference, right? So see, relationship test is fine, age test, support test. Now residency, for the purpose of qualifying child, the children should be living at least for half of the year. Okay, more than half of the year, more than 50%, more than 6 months you can say. And this should not be continuous. It can be during the whole year. For how many number of days the child is living with the taxpayer, you have to just count that. Okay, in and out days or in that residency or in that house, how many days actually he is living, you need to count that. If it is minimum 6 months, then also he is not allowed. It has to be more than 6 months, more than half of the year. So relationship test, age test, support test, and residency test is clear. Now there comes a situation where both the taxpayer and spouse are eligible to take the child as a qualifying child. So what will happen? We will check the AGI, highest AGI, right? So in this situation, this is example of taxpayer and spouse. One example I can take is, let's take there is a grandmother, okay? And she's having 3 grandchilds. All the grandchilds are taking care of the grandmother. She is living for few days with the first grandchild, few days with the second, and few days with the third. All 3 of them are providing the living expense for her. So who can claim her as a dependent? This will come in qualifying relative actually, but I'm explaining it right now. Who can claim her as a dependent? Qualifying relative can be claimed, either one of them, if they mutually agree that indirectly. First is nationality. Yesterday, on the first session, we have seen that, right? If a person is a US citizen, national, or a resident of US or Canada or Mexico, then only you can consider that person as a qualifying child. Definition. Okay. Then there is an exception for certain adopted child also. If a person is a adopted child, the foreign child can considered as a qualifying child for the purpose of qualifying child status. Marital status, the child should not be filing a tax return as a MFJ with the spouse, right? So if married, did not file a joint return for that year unless the return is filed only for claiming a refund. Just for claiming a refund, if they are filing the return, that's fine. Else, you cannot go for a dependency status if you are already filing a MFJ with someone else. Okay, this will rarely happen in case of qualifying child status, because a person is less than 19, less than 24. Okay, he or she will not be a married person, right, at this age. So practically it is not possible, but just remember the rules. Nationality, marital status. For the purpose of head of household filing status, a qualifying child is determined without regard to exception for children of divorce or separated parent. Okay, so a qualifying child definition will be considered even if a person, even if the taxpayer and spouse are divorced or separated or living apart. You need to consider, if let's say you are looking for the taxpayers filing status as a HOH. Okay, even if the person is living with the spouse, that is fine, but rest all conditions should be satisfied. So qualifying child is determined without regard to exception of children or divorced or separated, right? So even if in case of HOH there is a separation, you need to ignore that thing and calculate the other criterias. Also, the qualifying child who is married at the end of the year must meet the marital status and nationality test for the dependent. Even if he or he is married, still it's fine for the purpose of HOH, but he should fulfill the remaining two criteria. Okay. Now, credit for child and dependent care. Here, the age limit has changed. I've mentioned it here only, so you can remember it all together. In case of that credit, the child definition is all the way same, which we have done right now. Only one difference is the age limit has changed to 30. Or if a person is permanently or totally disabled, the age limit will not be considered. He or she will be considered for the credit of child and dependent care expenses. Okay. Now for the child tax credit, the age limit is 17. Under 17 means I can say 16 or less. Here under 13 means 12 or less. Exactly 13 they will give you in exam. So they are not eligible. 17, exact 17 years they'll give you in the question, that is not eligible. Okay. Next is earned income credit. Yes. Any question?
இந்த ஹெட்ஃபோன் போட்டா தலை ரொம்ப ஒரு மாதிரி இருக்குது அந்த டேவே.
Navin, I think you can mute yourself if you don't have any question. Yeah. So see, earned income credit, a qualified doesn't have to meet. See, earned income credit is something when a person is having a earned income. Earned income means actively involved in the business, right? Or in earning those income. We have done it in the first lecture, what is earned and unearned income. So if a qualifying child does not have to meet the support test, only that 50% support test is exception when you understand the EIC credit. Also, a qualifying child must have lived with the taxpayer in United States for more than half of the year and have a SSN number that is valid for employment in United States. So the child should be fulfilling the remaining all criterias except for the support test. Here, one criteria is, allowed. Yeah, here HOH, even if the child is, married, then also that exception is not applicable in HOH status. In earned income, there is one exception. So all the four credits, wherever you will see the child definition, okay, child definition, you will understand that there are certain changes in the main definition. Please remember, this is our general, our standard definition. There will be some exclusions or inclusions in this definition when we do the credits chapter. Okay, all right. So any other question in the topic qualifying child? We'll move to the qualifying relative then. All right. So for understanding the qualifying relative, here it's very simple steps we have mentioned. Not reading the theory will be enough. Just understand it, guys. To qualify a qualifying relative, you must first meet the dependent taxpayer, joint return, and citizen or residence test. There are 3 tests: dependent taxpayer, joint return, and citizen. Those 3 tests which we have seen in the previous topic, qualifying child. Along with this, there will be one more test, that is gross income test. Okay, so let's see. First step you have to check is the person your qualifying child or the qualifying child of any other taxpayer? If yes, the person isn't a qualifying relative because he is already fulfilling the definition of qualifying child. He will not fall under the definition of qualifying relative. Okay, next is a child isn't a qualifying child of any of the other taxpayer if the child's parent isn't required to file US income tax return or files an income tax return only to get the refund of income. Okay, so it's just like that. Even if the child is considered as a qualifying child on the parent's return and parent doesn't have any income, expense, deduction, anything, they have not claimed any credit, they are just filing it for claiming a refund. So even if he is a qualifying child on his parents' return, let's say his uncle and aunts are incurring expense for his living expense, for his education and all, they can claim him as a qualifying relative. Okay, this is very much detailed. Please understand this thing. Now read it again. The child isn't a qualifying child of this taxpayer if child's parent or any other person for whom child is defined as a qualifying child isn't required. They are not required to file the income tax return, but they are just filing it to get the refund. And they have mentioned the child as a dependent on their tax return. And all other criteria are fulfilled. The child is living with the parent, age limit is fulfilled, support test is also fulfilled, let's say. But still, the other person who is also fulfilling the same criteria can claim this child as a qualifying child because the parent was not allowed to file the return because of his income criteria. Okay, he's just filing the return. They are just filing the return for claiming the refund. Clear, guys? This much detail will not come in exam. Just remember the steps. If a person is a qualifying child in someone else's return, you cannot claim him as a child. If no, he can be considered for the definition of the qualifying relative. Now let's see what all things will come under qualifying relative in step 2. Was a person your son, daughter, stepchild, foster child, or a descendant of any of them? Okay, first part of the relative will include your blood relative. Okay, son, daughter, foster, or descendant of any of them. The child related, everyone will be included. That is, grandchild will also be considered. Descendant means grandchild, right? Since the person is not fulfilling the age criteria in the above definition, they can fall under qualifying relative. If a child is of 28 years of age, see, child doesn't mean a small child. It can be your child. See, you are also the children of your parents, right? Even if your age is more than 24, still you are a child of your parents, so you will be falling under the QR definition, qualifying relative. Or was that person your brother? Okay, first one is all related to child, second one is related to your brother, sister, half brother, half sister, son, daughter, okay, or any one of them. And the third one related to your parents, your father, mother, or ancestor, or sibling of either of them. Sibling of father, mother means your uncle and aunt can also be considered as a qualifying relative. Qualifying relative definition is very wide, like it includes everyone from your family members, everyone. Okay, it will also include step brother, step sister, stepfather, stepmother, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, father-in-law, mother-in-law, brother-in-law, sister-in-law, everyone, all relatives will be considered for the QR definition. You just need to check whatever is mentioned in the exam question. Are they following under any of this category? What you can remember is first category is related to child category. Second category is related to brother, sister. Third category is related to parents. Fourth category is related to step relatives and in-laws. Okay, clear guys? If your relative is not falling under step 2, go to step 3. If yes, go to step 4. Clear guys? Let's say if anyone is falling under this 4 categories. So let's go to first step 4. What is step 4? Did the person have a gross income? The third criteria you have to check is, see, first criteria you saw that the person should not be qualifying child. If not a qualifying child, the person should fall under the definition of qualifying relative. Check the definition of qualifying relative. There we saw the 4 conditions. It should be child, someone from the brother, sister, if parent. See, parent will include grandparent also, okay? And the siblings of your parent also, means your uncle, aunt will also be included in the parent. And fourth was your in-laws and step relatives. If they are falling under the QR definition, check the gross income definition next. That is, they should not be earning $4,700 or more. Okay, more than 47 is not allowed. Exactly 47 is allowed. We'll see the definition of gross income, what all things should be included in this 4,700, but they should not be earning more than $4,700. Okay, if no, okay, means if they are earning more than 47, you cannot claim that person as a qualifying relative. If yes, they are earning within this limit, go to step 5. Step 5 is very common. You should be providing more than 50% of support of person's total support of the year. Support test, I can say. For this one was the gross income test. Then we have a support test. Okay. If yes, you can claim the person as your qualifying relative. And if no, if you're not providing enough support, every conditions are satisfied, not providing the support, check the 6th step. Okay, that is, did another person is providing more than half of the support? If yes, you can't claim the person as a dependent. The simple rule is you should be providing 50% support, not anyone else. If anyone else is also not providing, then check whether 2 or more people are providing the support or not. Now here that grandmother example will come. Okay, if 3 grandchilds are providing the living expense and the support for the grandmother, then what you are going to do, go to the step 8. That is, check who is providing at least more than 10% of the support. If they mutually agree who will claim the dependent, then that's good. But if they are having conflict for understanding, for taking the decision, they will check who is providing more than 10% of the support. Okay, let's say 1, 2, 3. Total expense which grandmother needs to be taken care is 50,000 during the whole year, due to her medical expense, hospital bills, okay, her living expense, everything total ups to 50,000. Now, first one is, this is providing $20,000. He's providing $15,000. Let's say he is providing $4,000 and he is providing remaining $26,000. Okay, so what will happen? These two are providing more than 10% of her total expenses, right? So automatically the third person will be excluded for the consideration of the qualifying relative support. But the 1 and 2 will again have a conflict, that who will be considering the who will consider grandmother for the qualifying relative definition. So see what it is mentioned. Did the other person providing more than 10%? Okay, both are providing more than 10% of the total support of the person's total support for the year, provide you with a signed statement agreeing not to claim the dependent. Okay, either of them will mutually agree. If they are not going to mutually agree, there is only one solution, that 50%. Okay, let me check where it is mentioned. I'll first explain it. There is only one solution, who is providing more than 50% of the total expense. Can I say B is providing more than 50%? So he will be allowed to take as a qualifying relative under the consideration. Clear, guys? So see, if yes, providing more than 50 or 10% support, go to the next step. Did the other person providing more than 10% support gave a signed statement that I am not claiming the dependent? If yes, you can claim this person as a dependent. You will be filing a form 2120, that is multiple support declaration form. If no, you can't claim the person as a qualifying child dependent. Okay, qualifying child, qualifying relative, you can't claim. Got it, guys? Now, just remember one thing. It will be mentioned over here. Yeah, multiple support arrangement. Here you can see where two or more persons are contributing more than 50% to the support of the person, but none of them individually contributes more than 50%. The contributing taxpayer, all of them must qualify as a qualifying relative. Okay, everyone can take a qualifying relative. The grandmother can be eligible to be taken as a qualifying relative. The contributor must have contributed more than 10% of the personal support in addition to meeting the other dependency test. Second thing, let's say both are like two or more person are contributing more than 10%. Either they can mutually agree or they will see who is providing more than 50% of support. Clear, guys? I hope this much is clear. Now, please remember, is having 3 grandchild. All are expending some of the money. It can happen that grandmother is expensing, like taking out her own expense from her pension plan, retirement plan, or any of her own earnings. Total expenses are 50,000. If she is taking out her own expenses of more than 25,000, then none of them can claim the qualifying relative, the grandmother as a qualifying relative. The core definition is same. Grandmother should not incur her own expense of more than 50%. Okay, clear, guys? All right. Next, one thing we left behind was, if you are not falling under the definition of related person, you are going to check the step 3. Step 3 is, was the person any other person other than the spouse who lived with you during all the year? So can I say the word we can use here is member of household. Let's say you are relocating to US and you are living with one of your friend. Your friend is a US citizen over there. He is going to pay a rent of the house. He's going to incur food expense, food and other expenses related to household things. So he can claim you as a qualifying relative, even though you're not related in any way. Only the thing is, you should be living with him for all the year. It should not be like that you are going there just for a normal visit for 2 months, 3 months. He can claim you as a qualifying relative. You should be living there for a whole year. There are only some exceptions, that for example, you are not available at the home due to some reasons. That is, if a person is kidnapped. Okay, exception for kidnapped child, a child who was born or died during the same year, temporary absence due to school, vacation, medical care. Due to this 3-4 reasons, there is a temporary absence. Apart from that, the whole year you are living with the taxpayer. Okay, so he can claim you as a qualifying relative. Clear, guys? Now, divorce or separated spouse also can be considered as a living separate, but for considering them as a qualifying relative, they will be considered as a living together. Exception will be there for divorce or separated spouse. If you want to claim your spouse, if a spouse is permanently disabled, okay, you can claim your spouse as a dependent. That is one thing. I have seen one return where spouse was claimed as a qualifying relative. So I was like, spouse, how spouse can be claimed as a relative if you're filing a MFJ return? But then we saw that the spouse was permanently disabled, permanently not able to work, and like the day-to-day activities she can't take care. It should not be temporary accident or something. It should be permanent disability. Okay. If you finalize a final decree of divorce or separate maintenance agreement during the year, you can't take your former spouse as a dependent. Once the divorce is finalized, after that you can't take your spouse as a dependent, even though she is permanently disabled. Okay, got it, guys? So this is the all condition you should remember very well in case of qualifying relative. Qualifying relative, the residency test is there, this support test is there, relationship test is there, member of household test is there, and the last one is gross income test is going to be considered. In support test, please check the multiple support arrangement is in proper place or not. Okay. So these are some definitions. Adopted child, for the purpose of adopted child, how you are going to treat that child. It will be considered as your own child only. You don't have to consider any separate treatment. Okay. The definition of adopted child is given. That person should be lawfully adopted. Child can be foreign child also. That's fine. A person doesn't meet this test if at any time during the year relationship between you and that person violates the local law. A person doesn't meet this test means if a taxpayer plus spouse, they are not legally married, they are living together, but some state law over there, the state rules are also different. For your EA exam, you have to just remember the federal rules, which we are going to understand in the class. State rules, wherever it is necessary, like community property topic will come, where state rules are different. So I'll give the example wherever it is necessary for understanding the state rules. Okay, for purpose of this test, gross income, yes. Now, gross income will include what all things is defined over here. Gross income of individual who is permanently and totally disabled at any time during the year does not include the income of service the individual performs at a shelter workshop. Okay, now what the gross income will include? All income the person received in the form of money, goods, property and service that isn't exempt from tax. Means it will include your wages, interest, dividend, pension, retirement, distribution, all thing which is taxable in your in your 1040 return. All the thing from line item 1 to line item 10, everything is included in the gross income. Only one thing you have to consider, and as an exception, don't include social security benefit unless the person is married filing separate. Okay, if a person is filing MFS and lived with their spouse at any time during the tax year. So if MFS, filing MFS, still they both are living under the same roof. Okay, or if half of the social security benefit plus their gross income and tax exempt interest is more than 25,000. When we will see that topic of social security benefit, when you start receiving the SSB, you can exclude a certain amount from your income. Actually, whatever you receive as an income should be considered in your tax return. But as in when you receive this SSB, there is an exception that at least you can exclude up to 25,000. Okay. We'll see that later on when we do the topic. It's a whole different topic. Just remember your income will include income will include each and everything except for social security benefit. Got it, guys? Please remember this thing. Now, qualifying relative support test, just it is mentioned in a very short manner. There, the stepwise manner was mentioned. Here, you can understand the theory. Support gross income test, and in gross income, what all things will include in the definition? Income which is taxable. What is non-taxable? SS, social security benefit, tax exempt interest, tax exempt scholarship. Excluding this three, all will be included. Please mark this topic as very, very important, because in exam, they will ask you some of the points from this. Like they'll give you the list of expenses in a line item manner, and they will ask you to identify whether you can claim Mr. X as a dependent, qualifying relative on your return or not. They'll give the income of that qualifying relative. Then you have to check totaling all the gross income, whether it is going more than $4,700 or not. This gross income will exclude three items: social security benefit, tax exempt interest, tax exempt scholarship. Clear, guys? Next is, see, whenever I'm teaching and when I'm saying you, it's very, very important, mark it at that time in your book only. It's IMP topic. Later on, after completing all the session, when I'm going to tell you the IMP topics, rather than it should be said at the starting only while teaching. So please mark it along with me. Preclude dependent filing status. Who is going to, a taxpayer who doesn't meet the definition of qualifying relative, if taxpayer is married, dependent, and files a joint return, means files a joint return with someone else, you can't be considered as a QR on anyone else's return unless there is no tax liability. They are just filing for claiming the refund, and that is allowed. Only citizens of US or resident of US, Mexico, Canada can be considered as a qualifying relative. Okay, now here the definition of relative is given. Who all will fall under the relative? Who all is non-relative, means member of household. They should live for the whole year. They should live for at least 50% of the year, that is 6 months at least. Clear, guys? Multiple support we have seen very well. There are certain MCQs, go through it. Those who have already got the book, who have already enrolled, might have received the book. Those who are planning to enroll, today was the last day of the demo session. Please ping me. We can arrange the books dispatch for you guys. Okay, let me take the doubts of Ayush. Before Ayush questions query, I'm taking, anyone is having any other doubt from today's session? Anyone? Okay, just a minute. If divorce during the year, joint return may not be filed if one spouse. So Ayush, you have shared me some questions. Can you tell me what is your query in that? Ayush, are you there on the call? Yes. First one you shared is some pointers you shared. If divorce during the year, joint return may not be filed. If one spouse dies during the year, joint return may not be filed. A joint return is not allowed if one spouse was non-resident. Like which point you didn't understood from the topic? MFS, I think. In MFJ you had first doubt. Yeah, you sent me this 3-4 things. No, Ayush, you're not audible. I'll take the second. It looked like a question. US citizen and spouse elects to agree to be taxed on their worldwide income. In the scenario, taxpayer, spouse, both income should be shown worldwide income on the yes. Taxpayer plus spouse. Let's say spouse is a non-resident. Both agree to file a 1040 return in the form of MFJ. The spouse should agree to consider her all the income in the 1040. So even if the taxpayer, for taxpayer it is by default, he's US citizen, so worldwide income will be taxable in his return. But for spouse, she is non-resident. In India it happens, right? If you are a non-resident, only the income from India is taxable, not the worldwide income. But in US the rules are different. If you are planning to file a joint return with the taxpayer, worldwide income will be taxable for both the taxpayer and spouse. Next you mention is if spouse non-resident, then it will paper file the tax return because he or she doesn't have SSN or IT. No, if he is filing, both are filing a joint return, then he will file online. Plus, they will have to compulsorily apply for IT number for the tax filing purpose. Okay, and if only she wants to file a 1040 return, let's say she's having earning, let's say I'm having earning from US, my students are there in US also, I'm having earning from US, so I want to file 1040 return to pay taxes in US. It is not compulsory for me to file the return in US unless my income is going over and above the basic exemption standard deduction limit. Okay, clear guys? But if it's going above standard deduction limit, I can file the tax return, and yes, I can take the IT number to specifically file the tax return. It's not compulsory to go for paper filing. If you don't have SSN, you can apply IT. If you don't have IT also, you can't file the return only. Even when paper filing, you need the IT number. You need some identification number. Okay. Then next question, you have just mentioned one, generally spouse files separate return, so must the other. Exception to this is if other spouse qualifies for HOH while married, then one spouse. Okay, this is simply saying that if taxpayer and spouse both are married, okay, but they are living apart. Do you remember the definition of HOH? If you are married, you will be considered unmarried if both the people are living apart since last 6 months of the year, right? So the taxpayer wants to file a HOH. Then spouse cannot go for MFJ because she is married and she wants to file. Taxpayer can't include income 2 times in 2 different returns. So that is what it is mentioning, that taxpayer plus spouse, if one is going to file HOH because of the criteria are fulfilled, the other can go for MFS, not a married filing joint, but the other needs to file a separate return. Okay. Now the next question is, in a joint return while married, the taxpayer qualifies for HOH. So other spouse can file MFS. Yes, it is correct. In this scenario, if one shall take the standard deduction, then spouse also takes the same standard deduction. Yes, they both cannot have a different benefits. If in HOH he is taking a standard deduction, spouse will also go for standard deduction. Spouse cannot go for itemizing the deduction. Else there will be a loophole that they are taking the highest standard deduction, and being a MFS, she's taking the highest itemized deduction, taking all the itemized deduction. They'll not claim itemized deduction on the taxpayer's return, they'll claim on the spouse return. So this was a loophole. So they says that if taxpayer is claiming standard deduction, spouse will also claim standard deduction. Okay, being a MFS, you have to check what the taxpayer is claiming. The same thing spouse will be eligible to do. Injured and innocent spouse get relief when they file 8379, 8857. But as I know, before e-file tax return, we will get 8879 e-file authorized signed form. Okay. Then both taxpayer spouse knows the tax liability or the refund. So IRS will be allowed to them refile for filing this form tax. See, it's very simple. When already the disputes are going on, right? When there is a innocent spouse relief, the tax liability is 10,000. You agreed to this 10,000, and later on there is a notice from the IRS. At that time, you can go for a innocent spouse relief while signing the 8879, the signature form, right? You are not aware about the tax liability at all while filing the return for the first time. So from after filing the return also you can go for innocent spouse relief, or before filing the return also you can go for innocent or injured spouse relief, any one of them. Okay, so there's no restriction like before filing 8879 or after filing 8879. You can at any point of time file the injured spouse or innocent spouse relief. Okay, then we have is QSS. You have one doubt in QSS. Suppose spouse dies on 31st October. Okay, 31st October 2023. They should be filing a joint return. Yes, on 31st December, they should file a joint return. If taxpayer remarries on 1st December, in this case, he can file a joint return with the new spouse. Yes, he will have to file a joint return with new spouse. So taxpayer already with final return filed with his spouse shows all income on 31st, and November and December income should show. No. See, you are taking this wrong. Whenever you are going to file a return, you're going to file it once, right? You're not going to file a return on 31st October. You will check the status on 31st December. That's why please follow the timeline. Person died on October. Okay. Person is going to file a return after 31st December. So check the status. What is the status of the taxpayer? Taxpayer status is married. Married to someone else, so he will be filing MFJ. What is the status of the deceased person? He will now be considered as a single. So just file a single return for this spouse. You will not file the return twice. Please don't get confused in this situation. Just check the filing status on 31st December. Ayush, did you get it? The last point which you shared. Is it clear? Okay. Any other doubt, guys? Anyone? From today's, yesterday's, the whole first study unit we have completed. Filing requirement, definition of qualifying child, qualifying relative, all the filing status. This all is done. Any other question now? All right. So we'll end today's session over here. And tomorrow, maybe we'll have 1 day break. Let everyone go through the previous 3 sessions. Those who want to enroll, if today anyways I'm uploading this all the 3 demo on the YouTube. Let's see how many enrollments will come. Tomorrow we'll keep just for enrollment process. Today also you guys can enroll, those who want to. Just ping me on WhatsApp. I think Akash has already texted me on the WhatsApp. There won't be any, see, even if you purchase my previous books or my previous sessions or anything, there won't be any discount. Already the price is very minimal. You can just go and check any other institute. They are just charging 15 to 17,000 just for providing you the LMS. Okay, here this 15,000 fees is the lowest price I can say, where you include, it includes the books also, it includes regular book plus summary book, updated one, right? Second thing, we will be having a one-on-one session, a personal mentoring is going to happen. Doubt solving is there. Saturday, Sunday, we will having a regular doubt solving and mock exams also, right? So don't ask me for any discount or anything. Like if I've already purchased your previous attempt book, that was way ago and the book was just 2499. Okay, if you want me to exclude the book from this, I can exclude 2499 from here. If you already have the books, I can exclude this price. If you already have our regular book, and if you don't want any books, okay, 2499 I can exclude for that. Got it? So that's it for the day, guys. Let me know whatever you plan ahead, and if you have any question in any batch timings or anything. Our batch timings are fixed. Monday to Friday we will have the session every day morning 7:30 to 8:30 a.m. So you can have a lot of time before your office, at least 1 hour or 2 hours. You can revise or solve the MCQs just after completing the topics. For MCQs, we are going to partner with Hawk International for providing the MCQ portal. Okay, we are in discussion with them. We will be partnering with them to provide you the MCQs for specifically from this portal. Okay, clear? Any other question, guys? Anyone is having any question regarding the batch timings or any further syllabus or anything? Exam slots will open maybe at the end of July for August month. Registration link. Yeah, Shushma, just ping me on WhatsApp. I'm sending the WhatsApp number in the group chat.
Okay.
Okay. So just ping me on WhatsApp, anyone who is having any issue. I'm ending the session over here and uploading all the 3 demo on the YouTube. I'll share you the YouTube link also, those who have all attended the session. All right, I'm going to create a new group for just specific the new batch. Okay, I will add you in 2 groups. One is our common group of all the students, where if the exam slots are open or if there is anything, any update on the amendments or anything, that is getting posted in the general group. And part 1 whole new batch group will be separate. So those who are from my previous batch, please ping me on WhatsApp if you're attending the new batch. Okay, so I can add you in the group. All right, thank you guys. Have a great day and meet you soon tomorrow on 7:30 a.m. session. Bye.